Just hold me tight, no words I needed.
Afternoon, everybody. I hope you are well today. I wanted to do another quick update. There's been a hell of a lot that's been happening recently around Liverpool, and obviously I wanted to cover some of that. Big up everyone in the chat. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. You know, all that nice stuff. And also, I really appreciate all the comments that you've been writing in my channel. It's good to know that people are interested, and also good to know people's comments and interests in Liverpool as well. I'm just going to do a quick couple of updates about what's going on, what's happened. Also, some updates on some players. I'm going to do a couple more comparisons around particular transfers that Liverpool are probably going to be involved in. I also wanted to kind of cover Trent last night. He's absolutely worldly for England. Just if Slot can get what Gareth Southgate's getting out of Trent for Liverpool next season, then we've got a really, really, really good midfielder in the ranks, and we may not have to look at one of those pivot guys. There may be an option to play Trent there now. Like, you just look at the way he's playing for England. It's absolutely sensational. And actually, while we're here quickly, I'm just going to bring up some of his numbers from last night. So he got man of the match. Every game he's played, he's got man of the match for England at the moment. Played the full 90, scored an absolutely mental goal. Like, I mean, there's not many people that can score a goal like that. Hit it on the volley. Worldly strike. Like, I mean, look at his passes. 101 passes. 101 passes in a game. Like, they're numbers that are just unreal. Like, there's teams that don't get 100 passes in a game, and Trent can have 101 passes in a game. Like, 90 of them got to his own players. 5 chances created. 121 touches. Like, I understand he didn't touch the ball in the opposition's box much, which is fine. You know, one of the touches he did, he scored, which is fine. Accurate crossing, long balls. I mean, just look at the fact that 7 out of 12 long balls, and some of them were just insane. He took 5 corners. Defensive, not really involved. No tackles, 1 block, 1 interception, 3 recoveries. Didn't win any duels. Won an aerial duel. Like, he's not particularly great in the air. Interesting that he's got a defensive midfield position there for England, and he played. I mean, you know, he played as it's hard to really to really understand, like, is he going to be that guy under Slot? Is that an option where he can play in the double pivot? I mean, you just look at the way he played for England. He played next to Conor Gallagher and behind Cole Palmer. I mean, if we're going to be setting up England, if we're going to be setting up Liverpool next season, are we going to be looking at something like this for England? Sorry, for England. I've got to stop saying England. Are we going to be looking at something like this for Liverpool, and we're going to be playing? We're going to be playing Trent in that position with a defensive midfielder, and maybe we can look at Alexis McAllister as the more advanced midfielder. Is that something that we're going to be looking at? And then we've got the likes of Connor Bradley, like, playing in this position. Like, is this something that we're going to be looking at? I mean, Scottish Bear, having Trent as that guy who just controls, like, 100 passes yesterday. If we can get him on the ball as the demanding, commanding midfielder in the double pivot, and he does get that many touches, then I think there's a real force to be reckoned with there, with the likes of McAllister and Trent in that midfield. I know a lot of people are crying out for Dominic Szoboszlai, or maybe Mo Salah, or maybe a Harvey Elliott, or maybe another type of player to play in this McAllister position as the number 10. But I think McAllister can do that role. I think he's got goals in him as well. It's a real interesting one. And if you're looking at next season, this is definitely an option. Like, it has to be contemplated. That kind of setup has to be contemplated. Like, Dom would be a monster on the left. Jota, if we can keep him fit, has got bags of goals. Mo Salah, who can just float, he can float inside. McAllister can kind of drop a bit deeper if he needs to. You could also have the likes of I wouldn't even say Harvey Elliott to a certain extent. You could probably put Cody Gakpo there. Would Cody Gakpo? Could he work in that floating position? And then, I mean, obviously, he could play on the left hand side, but are you going to be looking to use him there? There's a lot of rumours around Diaz leaving. There's a lot of rumours around Nunes leaving. The names keep on coming up. Gakpo could play. He could play that false nine. He has done. He drops deep. He drifts wide, or he could drift in. You know, it's a real interesting one. It's a real interesting one. Trent really does give us options. And I do see, watching that last night, like, it was absolutely breathtaking. He really was. Like, that really does bring up a lot of questions around, does he just be the midfielder now in the double pivot? You know, and you got the likes of Jota, and then you got Nunes. Then, you know, there's your forward line. It's your forward line, not a problem. You know, you can have Elliott in there, or you could have Elliott behind. You know, there's rumours circulating now that the manager slot isn't interested in Endo. This is now circulated around a couple of websites that he's looking to get rid of Endo. He's not looking to keep Endo now, and it looks like there's a couple of new players which we're now linked with. You know, we are linked with defenders. Like, we are absolutely linked with defenders. You know, Virgil's going to be definitely the standout defender. I mean, we are linked with a number of centre backs that can play left back. You know, Hincapié is definitely one that we're linked with. Pancho is definitely one we're linked with. Lenny Yoro's one we're linked with. You know, there seems to, Levi Colwell is one that keeps on coming up as well, over and over. It's really interesting. It's a real interesting look at the team now. There's a couple of players that I wanted to quickly have a look at. Apologies about the dog. No. Apologies about the dog. There's a couple of players that I wanted to have a look at that have obviously came up over the last couple of days. I tend to agree with that. I do. I think maybe another year might be beneficial for him in the German league. Hincapié's got another year. There's another guy which has now come up, Inacio. We've been linked with him before. He's a scouting committee player. Like, all the data points at him. I want to actually stick him on here because I do think that's got legs. I really think this guy is the real deal. I do think Goncalo Inacio would be a sensational signing. I think we get him for a lot less than the release clause is. Yeah, I really do think he would be a great signing. Portuguese players really do seem to be compatible with the Premier League. I mean, we really do have to kind of look at Portuguese players across the park. Like, there doesn't seem to be many flops that come to the Premier League, Portuguese-wise. It really doesn't. Like there's still a lot of Portuguese players knocking around in the Premier League, and they're doing a great job. Like they really are. Like it, it kind of baffles me why a lot of clubs don't go for more of them. Like there's a lot of Portuguese players out there. They don't seem to be a quantity that the Premier League teams go for. Like they kind of go for maybe the Dutch players, maybe the French players, not so much Germans, but they kind of float around other markets. I'm surprised there's not more Portuguese players in the Premier League because the teams that have Portuguese players, those players seem to be their star players. You know, you got your Pedro Netos, you know, you got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Jota, um, Diego Dallo is a really, really good player. Paulinho, you know, there's a lot of good players. The Portuguese players in the Prem do well. So I wouldn't have an issue with Goncalo Anacio coming to Liverpool because I think he would do a great job. And there's also another Portuguese player which we're linked with. And I wanted to do a comparison on these two. Can you see my screen? Yeah, screen looks good. We've obviously been linked with Keprin Thuram. Keprin Thuram was on the list last year. And for whatever reason, we signed Endo. For whatever reason, we signed Endo. But Thuram was on the list and the committee recommended him. We could have got him for about 30 million. We really messed his agent around and we messed him around. And in the end, there wasn't a move that was made and Endo ended up coming in instead. And Endo's been good to a certain extent, but you can't ignore the fact that the first couple of months it looked like he won a raffle. Honestly, it looked like he won a raffle. It looked like he'd never played football before, and he just looked an absolute mess for the first couple of weeks. And I think he brought a fitness coach over, and he sorted out his fitness, and he got up to speed with the pace of the Premier League. And in the end, he was a decent player. But Keprin Thuram's available for about 13 to 15 million. He's had a really good season with Nice. I think we need to kind of move away from this DM position that Liverpool fans seem to be obsessed by. We're looking at a midfielder. We're looking at midfielders. It's a midfield role, whether it's defensive or attack or none, is irrelevant. We just need to be dropping this DM kind of position that we keep on talking about because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And we seem to be obsessed with it as Liverpool fans, and it's really starting to do my head in, and it must be starting to do your heads in now as well, like because this position doesn't exist. Okay, if you look at the positions of these players, they play most of their games in midfield, in the centre of the park, which you can see. You can clearly see. You can clearly see that they play their positions here. Yeah. I know he's listed as a defensive midfielder, but he still plays in midfield. And this is what we have to be understanding. Keprin kind of hits the sweet spot. 141 games in the French league, 9 goals, 8 assists. He's got 8,500 minutes. It's a good amount of time he's played. He's a French international now. He's played in the Europa League. He's played in the Champions League. You know, he's got plenty of experience, even in the Conference League. So he's played in all the leagues. Loads of European experience. Got his cap last year. He obviously played in the under-21s. Last year he did pretty well. I think they got to the final. I think obviously England won it, but I think they got to the final or maybe the semi-finals. He's obviously the son of Lirian Thuram, who was an absolute monster of a player. He's a really big lad. He's actually taller than Paulinho. I thought Paulinho was tall. I think he's 6'2" or 6'3". Plays in central midfield and can play very defensive and can also play as a number 8 as well. He's got goals in him. He's very athletic, gets around the park a lot. I think he's a brilliant upgrade on Endo. I just do. And he's interested in a move. So that could be done. I think that's very highly likely, by the way. I think that could be 70% that it could happen. I really do. It really does look like an Edwards type of signing, a real shrewd signing, where he cost very little money. Thiago's gone. Tyler Morton's probably going to leave. If we moved away from Endo would move. It would fit. He'd fit straight in. There's a lot of rumours around Gravenberch. I don't think the club fancy him. There's been a lot of issues around his attitude. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp. He had a falling out with Jurgen Klopp last season. That was actually mentioned in an interview. He also fell out with Ronald Koeman. He's also fell out with Julian Nagelsmann and Thomas Tuchel. Like, the guy's 21 years old and he's literally fallen out with all of his managers. Like, I don't see a future at Liverpool for him. I just don't. I don't like him. I genuinely don't like him as a player. I think he's lazy. I think he expects great things to happen when he doesn't work hard for them. Like, he never puts enough effort in. He doesn't really affect games. He drifts in and out. He looks disinterested. He doesn't win enough challenges. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't head the ball enough. For me, I think he's a really poor signing. I would love to be able to ship him off to Salzburg so Pep and Linders can be stuck with him, because he's the reason why we signed him in the first place. For 34 million for £140,000 a week player, I think it's an absolute aberration of a signing. And I think Kepa and Thuram would be a massive upgrade on him. I just do. And he would cost very, very little. Sorry about the dog. That's where I sit on Gravenberch. The reason why I've got Paulinho on here is there has been a couple of articles which have been posted about Paulinho being a marquee signing and a replacement for Endo. So for me, I would be absolutely fine with this signing. I think we could get him for about 40 million. He was pretty much nailed on to sign for Bayern Munich, but the deal didn't go through in time. I mean, he even had photographs in the shirt. The deal just didn't go through in time. He's played in Portugal, obviously, a lot of games there, 164, 68 games in the Premier League. I know he's 28, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, we signed a 30-year-old in Endo for nearly 20 million. We could have Paulinho, who's 2 years younger, who hasn't got a huge amount of games, by the way, in his legs. He's only played 68 Premier League games. He's got 7 goals as well, by the way. 7 goals in 68 games. Like he's a threat. He's a threat, and he's a good player. I understand that people think he's quite slow, and he makes a lot of fouls. But so was Fabinho. Fabinho was quite slow. But what Fabinho was good at breaking down the passing lanes and breaking down the game by fouling and slowing things down and making things difficult. That's what Paulinho is really, really good at. I'd be more than happy for Paulinho to come in and to fit straight into this position. Straight into this position. It would be brilliant to get him to come in. I'm just going to put him in. Like, tell me that this doesn't look like. Tell me that this doesn't look like a pretty good midfield there with Paulinho sat as the double pivot midfielder. Like you look at that and you have to feel there's some strength in there. Like you have to feel like you're solid in games by looking at that midfield. Paulinho as your defensive-minded central midfielder in the double pivot, and then you've got Trent who's just controlling, just dominating the ball. Like all Paulinho has to do is break up the game, break up the play, and pass the ball to Trent, who's like right next to him or right near him. And you've got that element of control of the game, spraying those passes left and right, finding lots of players around the pitch. And I also like the fact that there's a Portuguese contingent in there. If we sign Goncalo Inacio and Paulinho, you've got 2 Portuguese internationals there with Jota. Like that's also a nice contingent of Portuguese, Spanish-speaking players that can obviously blend in with the rest of the South Americans who speak that language. I just feel that that looks like a nice team, and even if you kind of move around from this, then you could obviously have Kepa and Thuram, as the backup. I think that works fine. And then obviously you've got the likes of Canate. I know there's rumours around Canate. Which is very interesting. But I just don't see us moving Canate on. I just don't. And then, we could look at the likes of Hincapié as a Virgil van Dijk backup, and then obviously he can play as a left-sided player as well. I get the Archie Gray. Stuff, but I think if we signed Archie Gray, I think Archie Gray would go back on loan. I think Archie Gray's too young to get thrown into the Premier League as an 18-year-old. I do get that, though. He's a massive talent. I mean, even if we got Archie Gray, he could be back up for Bradley because he's played right back. I think it's interesting. Yeah. But the only thing with Fabinho got flogged like so many years, overplayed. Paulini's not played a huge amount of games, so he's only played 68 games in the Premier League. I mean, he's only played 318 games in his career, and he's a 28-year-old. Like that's not a huge amount in his legs, but 318 games and 23 goals, and he's got goals in him. Kepler Thuram's 23, and he's played nearly 200 games. It's a difference. He's also a full Portuguese international now with 25 games under his belt. I do think Paulinho will be just a really intelligent signing. It's just solid. Like you're getting a ready-made Premier League player who's played for a couple of seasons now at a high level in the Premier League, and he is by far always top of the stats for midfielders, for blocks, tackles, interceptions, ball recoveries. He's top of the pile all the time. I totally get that, but he's not injury prone. Like I know a lot of people say he's injury prone, but he's not injury prone to an extent where he's out for a long time. I also feel that if he hasn't got Trent as the right back doing the inverted, I think you're going to get a better. I think you're going to get a better season out of Canate. I just do. And the fact that you'll have Quansah who can rotate with him is just going to make sense. The flexibility is going to be there. And unfortunately, I don't see Joe Gomez at Liverpool next season. If we're looking at centre backs and we're looking at left-sided centre backs as well, where does Joe Gomez come into the play? Because Quansah was ahead of Canate. So you've got Virgil van Dijk, Canate, Quansah. Gomez is going to be fourth choice centre back. Like Gomez wants to play first team football. I genuinely believe we could get 30, 40 million for Gomez. He's a full England international now. He's going to go to the Euros. I could see a club coming in for him. I could definitely see West Ham. They've just lost loads of their defenders. 35, 40 million for Gomez, who we paid 5 million for, I think. It would be some brilliant business, and it could basically buy the new guy, whether it's going to be an Asio, Hincapié, or the likes of Pancho. Like it could just buy the new player. It's just a great bit of business. I'm also going to do another comparison here as well. Let me just share my screen here. So these are another couple of players that we've been linked with. I'm not sure the Bakayoko one would happen. I think it's a lot of money. But the Chiesa one, I think, is definitely something which has got legs. You can obviously play left. You can obviously play left. You can also play right. You can also play centre. He's coming down to 1 year left in his contract. As you can see, 2025. He's not signed a new deal, and he's been linked with us a lot. And I think he could be available for about 35 million, and he could be a marquee signing. And I do think he would be a sensational player to put in the team. Just think of having Chiesa instead of Diaz. Like, I'm just going to give you some of his numbers. So he's played a bag full of games, 235 games, 47 goals, 42 assists. Like, I understand that he's not a prolific goal scorer, but he's not in the position to be the goal scorer. That's not how the Italian teams work. He doesn't play as a central striker. He plays as a wide attacker. 47 goals in 235 games. It's not bad. It's not bad numbers. Like, it really isn't. Especially the assists, 42. He's obviously full Italian international with 7 goals in 45 games. He's played over 324 games. He's 26, so he's kind of that age that we'd be looking. And I just think he would be a shrewd signing. Going into his last year of his contract, if we could get him for 30 million or under, like, that's a great player to have in your team. And that's a ready-made Nunez replacement. Diaz replacement right there. I just think that's quite an interesting one to look at. Obviously, the Bakayoko rumours keep on flying around. He's going to be 40 million minimum, but he's going to want to play where Salah plays. He's obviously got 17 goals in 59 games and 14 assists, which are great numbers, by the way, and also 20 goals in 57 games in the Belgium league. He's a full Belgium international now. Scored his first goal recently. He's got 11 games. He is going to be a star. I can see him like a trajectory of Doku, but I think he'll go to a club earlier than Doku. I think he'd go to a big club earlier. But mind you, you have to look at the fact that PSV just won the league, and they stormed it. So he's got Champions League football next season. He's not going to come to the Premier League to a club that isn't in the Champions League. Otherwise, there's no point in him leaving. It's an interesting one. That's a fair point. Like, Juve don't really play attacking football. I get that. You can imagine him in a Liverpool team. I think he scored a lot of goals. He'd feel like another Jota for me. Chiesa, he pops up with really important goals in big games as well. I just think that's a really shrewd signing. If you could get him for 30 million, like, there's no other time you're going to be able to sign him for less than 60 million. You're just not. So I think 35 million, he could be got. Really interesting, really good player. I know he's been injured. Not last season, I think the season before. But he's not an injury-prone player. He just picked up a bad injury. Interesting one. I also wanted to look at this as well, and this is a little bit. We're going to talk about it anyway. So this one's a little bit controversial, but there are more rumours of Alisson potentially going to Saudi Arabia. and there were rumours of Alisson potentially going back to his boyhood club in Brazil, but that's been squashed by his agent. However, there is a lot of stuff around which looks like there's going to be a couple of Saudi clubs which are going to throw ridiculous money at Alisson to try and get him over. I don't know. I really don't know with Alisson, and the reason why is he is a Klopp player that Klopp made, and there's not many left at the club now. And he had a pay rise last year, in case people didn't know. But what you have to look at is his durability, and you've got a guy here in Queven Keller who had his first real breakout season last year. He's only played 15 games. 15 games in the Premier League. So he had his breakout season last year for us and played 15 games. He was as good as Alisson. You can't say he wasn't. He was as good as Alisson. If you're going to sell Keller for 30, 35 million, and it looks like Wolves are the front runners, and Celtic, but I think it'd be Wolves. This guy is injury prone. Like Liverpool need to have a very good backup goalkeeper because he can't be relied to stay fit. He just can't. He just can't. He can't rely to stay fit. And he's getting older because he's 31 now. I mean, he's going to be 32 this year, by the way. And his hamstrings don't seem to be getting better because he keeps on getting hamstring injuries. Like goalkeepers getting hamstring injuries is just a weird one. Queven, I think, personally, could be Alisson's replacement. And I think if we let him go, so if we let him go to Wolves for 30 million and Ali gets injured in pre-season, what are we going to do? Who are we going to play? Are we going to do a pre-season again where we have to play our reserve goalkeepers? Because we've done it before. And I don't want Adrian to be our reserve goalkeeper. And I also don't want to sign Alex McCarthy to be our goalkeeper because you're guaranteed that the reserve goalkeeper is going to play games in the Premier League and in big competitions because Alisson gets injured. And I know he's world class and I know he's the best goalkeeper in the world, but you can be all of those things and not be injured. But this guy gets injured a lot. And if you look at his numbers, he's only played 201 Premier League games for Liverpool. Yeah. And he's been at the club. So he played 28 games last season. Conceded 30. I mean, he conceded a lot of goals. Like that is, I mean, that's a lot. Okay. That is a lot. And he's linked with Al Nasser, by the way. Sorry, I thought I'd just mention that. But let's just look at his seasons at Liverpool. Okay. So he's been at Liverpool since, I'm trying to think if that's, no, okay. Actually, what I'm going to do, apologies, I'm going to look at his injury history. Okay. Can we see that? Yeah. Okay, so since we've had him, 2019, 67 days with a calf injury. The following season, he was out for 80 days with a hip injury. He missed 15 games in 2019. He missed 3 games in 2020. He missed another 1 game, so that's 4 games. Then he missed another 5 games with a shoulder injury. Then he missed another 3 games. Okay, so that entire season, he missed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He missed 15 games in 2020 through hip illness, shoulder, hip. Then the following year, he was out for 4 days with just illness. And then 2022, he was out for a week with COVID. Okay. And then 2023, he missed 3 games with muscular problems. And then this one, a virus, and then 13 games missed with a hamstring injury. Okay, I get it. He hasn't got any hamstring injuries before. Well, he's got a muscular problem there, but he hasn't got any hamstring injuries before. Okay, that's fair enough. But the worry for me is just the fact that he gets injured and he can miss at least 10 games a season. So we need to have a very good backup goalkeeper. And I feel that maybe we should start looking at a goalkeeper that doesn't get injured. And maybe we can get 100 million for him. And after watching Keller last season, I'm absolutely fine with him being in goal for Liverpool. I'm actually fine with him being our first choice goalkeeper. I really haven't got an issue with it. I think he's fine. I think he's a great goalkeeper. I think if we sold him to another club, we'd regret it. We'd regret it because as soon as Ali gets injured, we're then chucking a reserve goalkeeper in, and it's not going to be Keller. I don't know. I don't know what you think, chat. Ali worries me. Ali worries me for those injuries. It's an interesting one. I mean, if you look at all the games he's missed, okay, let me just add these up because I think this is quite an interesting one, which I'm going to do. 13 plus 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 15. Wow. Wow. Okay. Are you ready for this one? 47 games Ali's missed for Liverpool, injured. Yeah. He's played. I'm just going to get his numbers back. I'm actually completely blown away by this. 47 games Ali's missed for Liverpool through injury. He's played 201. Ali has missed a quarter of games for Liverpool. Sorry, a third of game. No, a quarter of games for Liverpool injured. That is insane for a goalkeeper. That's just insane. Like, that's just not being talked about. I'm gonna put that in the chat. That's just crazy, crazy numbers. Um, I'm absolutely fine. I'm absolutely fine with Queven being our first choice goalkeeper next season. I really am. Um, I mean, his market value is 28 million, Ali. I mean, if we could get 60 million, 60, 70 million, are you contemplating that? He'll be 32. He'll be getting more injuries. That's the problem. He will be getting more injuries. He gets injured a lot. He misses games. In 2022, Queven got a hamstring injury. I think he picked that hamstring injury up when he was in pre-season. Anyway, I'm just saying that's crazy. The Ali injury record. I didn't know it was as bad as it was. That's just nuts. It is what it is. That's a really good point. I'm going to have a look at Roma. He did get injured at Roma, by the way. That is something that I did see. He's also been sent off a couple of times as well, by the way. He got one. No, nope. He never got injured. His injury record is at Liverpool, funny enough, just like everybody else's. Typical. No injury record at Roma. So yeah, what else I wanted to have a look at is I wanted to have a look at our squad. So yeah, okay. So let's have a look at our squad. So this is the squad that we've got at the moment. Obviously, we just talked about Ali. We just talked Adrian. I want Adrian gone. I would hope that he gets released. I really hope we keep Queven, even if we have to maybe give him a pay rise or just guarantee that he's going to play more games. Like guarantee that he will play 30 games and maybe split the goalkeeping with Ali and Queven. I'm absolutely fine with that. Like Queven plays all of the cup games. He plays all of the Champions League group games. He even plays against all of the bottom 10 teams in the Premier League, home and away. Like if he's guaranteed that, like I think that's fine. Like that keeps Queven for another year. Like, and then Ali turns 33 then, and maybe he does move to Saudi, and then Queven steps in. I don't know. I don't think this goalkeeper will play. Also, Jaros. It hasn't got loan players on here, unfortunately. Jaros is on loan. He had a really good loan. I think he will want to play first team football. I think he won the league with Sturm Graz. So why would he want to go into second choice goalkeeper and not get to play much? I think he probably will want reassurances or maybe even another loan. I mean, you're looking at defenders. I think Gomez will go. He's not guaranteed football. I think Shimmercast will go. I would sell Andy Robinson. Andy Robinson's like 31 now, and I don't know whether he's going to be able to do the role that Slot wants. So, and we're looking at left-sided centre backs and left wing and left backs. Like Inacio plays where Robbo plays. Inacio isn't coming to Liverpool to sit on the bench. Inacio's coming to play football. So I think there's clubs out there that Robbo could sign for. I think there's a good amount of clubs that would take him and would pay 25, 30 million. How much are you really going to get for him? Matip's gone. Reece Williams will go. Trent, I don't think will be a defender next season. I think he will be a midfielder, so you can move him out. Quansah will get more game time, and he will be Konate's backup and also Virgil's backup potentially. Conor Bradley will be our right back next season, I've no doubt. Midfielders wise, what you wrote there? Yeah, yeah, that's my worry as well. Scottish player, Stefan. I think Stefan will get a loan. I don't think he's played enough. He played one game. He's only played 14 games in his career. At Liverpool, you can't even class him as a first team player. I mean, look at that. Stefan and Thiago played 2 games all season. We really have massive issues with injuries at this club. It can only get better now. It can only get better. It's just insane. It really is. Curtis only played 23 games last season. Really not a lot. No big chances created. That's really poor. Really poor. Oh, sorry, this is the Premier League, by the way. I think he's going to be back up for Trent, probably, in midfield. I mean, just looking at that pivot. Just looking at this pivot here, if you've got the likes of Trent and Curtis on that side, which is great, really good. And then you got the likes of maybe Paulinia or maybe Endo, maybe McAllister, who knows? But I think there's going to be a marquee signing, a more defensive-minded midfielder will definitely be signed. I think to go in that position. I think that will be an interesting one for next season. And then you got the likes of Harvey Elliott, who would be more right-sided for me, more right-sided, back up for Salah, possibly. Bobby Clark, I think Bobby Clark's going on loan to Derby. They're showing an interest in him. Alexis McAllister, I'd like to see McAllister play in the 10. Dominic Szoboszlai, I would move him out of midfield and put him as the left-sided forward, or even potentially number 10. Endo could be a backup left-sided midfielder, and potentially he could be sold. Looking at some of the rumours that are circulating, Gravenberch, I really hope he's not at the club next season. I think he's just a waste of money. I'd rather have Bobby Clark play. Naoni, I think Naoni will probably only get a few games. I think he'll need more nurturing. Thomas Hill's leaving. Narlo, he's staying as well. I think these two players will be nurtured more. Obviously, Mo, there's a lot of rumours around Mo still. A lot of rumours around Mo that they're going to come in with a big bid. I don't think he'll go. I think he'll stay. And I think that's great if he does. Cody Gapco. I think Gapco could play false nine. He can also play on the left side. Jota, really looking forward to see Jota next season. 20 games, 10 goals, 40 shots. Incredible numbers. Like, his conversion rate was better than Haaland's last season. I think Diaz will go. I'm more than happy for him to move on. Darwin Núñez, I'm just looking for a better season from Darwin Núñez. There are rumours that he's looking for a move as well. Barcelona floating around, PSG. Who knows? I think they'll be interested in him. Ben Doak, he just needs to maybe get a loan. It'd be good to see if he gets any games in the Euros. Kay Gordon, I think Kay Gordon will get games next season. I think he will be kept at the club. Liverpool have high hopes for him. He was incredible talent. The only thing is, Ben Doak has a good Euros, then he gets 3 weeks off, which means that he misses pre-season. Kate Gordon could have a great pre-season, and he could leapfrog him and actually play. It's an interesting one. Jayden Danns, I really hope Jayden Danns gets some game time next season. I think he's a better finisher than Darwin Núñez. He's done enough for me to be a cup player. I wouldn't want to loan him out. I think we should keep him around. And then finally, Mateusz Musolowski, he's leaving. So out of this squad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, potentially 15 players would not be at the club next season. If I was looking at the squad, potentially 15 players, I would move on out of that team, which is interesting, which is very interesting. And if we looked at, we're looking at that squad. Nope. Stats. Yeah, so if we're looking at last season's stats for Liverpool as well, 86 goals out of 790 shots is just not good enough. With 277 shots on target, which means that there's a lot of shooting that's hitting the goal but not going into the net. 35% shot accuracy, 102 big chances created, 25 times we hit the posts. I mean, that's just not good enough. Really isn't. Pass accuracy's good. Crossing's not good enough. We got a lot of red cards last season as well. We need to stop that. And we also got a lot of offsides, which isn't great. And we only had 10 clean sheets. Really isn't good enough. If we look at season before. It's quite similar, you know. Only 16 times we hit the woodwork though. So our discipline was better. We didn't get many offsides. We didn't score as many goals. We didn't create as many chances, and we didn't shoot as much, like half the amount we shot. Oh, hang on, no, sorry, 790. Well, yeah, there's a lot less shooting. And then if you look at the season where we tried for the quad, more goals, same amount of shooting, created less big chances, less offsides, less red cards. You know, for me, it was just more same amount of shots on target. If we're looking at numbers, yeah, but the shots on target went in the net. I think it's interesting. Anyway, I'm going to leave it now. Been a great show. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really wanted to look at some numbers, also some players. Have a look at the team for next season potentially. Big up if you tuned in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe. Also, please leave comments. If there's any stuff you want me to talk about, just let me know. I'm doing 2 shows a week now. I'll do one after the weekend and one before the weekend. Up the Reds. I'm out of here.
No one knows me like you. Love the way you do. Just hold me tight. No words I needed.